right, welcome to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. And so, just excited for another episode, another opportunity to highlight a local, in this case, agent that has been doing stuff for several years, not just one or two, but over a decade of time that you spent in the real estate game, and just doing a phenomenal job for his clients. He works in the Denver metro area, and it goes all the way out as far as Colorado Springs, and so works both of those markets and everything in between. So I'm sure the monuments and the, along the corridor there, and the, all those different areas that he's able to work at. And so I have, Gary Parkhurst on today. Gary, if you could just give a little bit of just explaining your world, where you hailed from, where you grew up, where you, how you got involved in this business. But before you do that, I would love for you just to tell everybody how to get a hold of you. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for having me. You can get a hold of me. My primary business cell is 303-810-9077. And you can also reach me at Gary@parkhurstrealty.com. And that's my email. Then my primary website is homesearchshop.com.
All right. Well, talk to us. How did you get going in this business, or guess where you're from? How well do you know Colorado? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I know it pretty well. I've lived here my whole life. I'm a native. I grew up in Colorado Springs, and in the early '90s, I migrated up to Arvada, and through the years, I kind of started heading south. And so I've lived in the north side of Denver. I've lived in the middle of Denver. I've lived in the DTC area, Parker, and then Douglas County, and, that sort of thing. So I'm very familiar with, all the way up through the foothills and the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. I grew up here, but I left for about 25 years. So I went to Cherry Creek High School, graduated in '83. And then I went out to California for 25 years and came back about 8 years ago, and just, amazed at all the changes and all the updates and all the upgrades.
Yeah. Colorado,
over time when you miss that. Now I've been back 12 years. So I'm kind of familiar with it, but yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, Colorado, what it's done really over the last 10 years. It's I started saying this about 6 years, is the cat's out of the bag. People realize how special Colorado is, and it just hasn't stopped since.
Yeah, I was in Phoenix this last week, and I used to think that Denver was a big city, and then, like LA, when I lived there, that's just no matter, just crazy. But in Phoenix, it is so big, so many freeways, so many people. All I wanted to do was come home. I wanted to be back home. I mean, I guess the weather right now is beautiful. It's 75 degrees there. And, here we're going back and forth with the cold, but there was just too many people. What's your thoughts? Have you, as now the cat's out of bag and people are coming here and infrastructure, are you kind of worried about what it's going to look like? Or are you just still thinking that people are not all the people can figure it out, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, the growth is inevitable. I mean, there is still a lot of areas to grow here in Colorado. Of course, it's two sides of the sword for me. And what I mean by that is from a real estate standpoint, it's incredible for me. Right. But I mean, there's certain areas that, are growing, and, developments and things like that of some really precious views and things like that. So I don't know, I guess bittersweet is the right way to say it.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, what are some of the things that you do? Like how did you get involved with, did you just start your own company right away, or did you work for somebody else? What was that evolution like?
Yeah, so it really started in '06, and I came from the corporate world, the rat race of corporations and that sort of thing in my career. And then in '06, kind of launched the business and did it from a moonlighting standpoint. And, I was a business partner with my ex-wife on it. And, eventually left corporate America and jumped in with both feet. And, it was a pretty easy transition in the sense of, because I was working it kind of behind the scenes and moonlighting and really running the business aspect of it. And then in about 2010 is really when I got involved with the client side and the operation side and so forth. So, it was nice. I was able to, I'll do an analogy of NFL quarterback. I was able to kind of get groomed behind the scenes. And then once I was, ready to step in, it was a pretty smooth transition.
Oh, good. Good. What do you think? What do you love about this industry, or love about what you do? You obviously been doing it for many years, so something that you got to love doing it.
Yeah. Well, I would say two things. Of course, I am passionate about real estate, homes. I think it's really cool being inside homes and seeing people's eyes light up and talking about what can be done in the house, and ideation, and hey, you can move this wall, and explaining things to the clients and so forth. But that's kind of the property side of it. But for me, it's really who I get to meet through the process. I get to meet some incredible people, build lifelong friendships and bonds. And what is cool about this industry is I get to see a lot of times the life cycles. And what I mean by that is somebody get married, then they have a kid, and then maybe a second or third, and they need another place. And then, and you see them growing through their life, and you're experiencing it with them. That's probably the most special part.
Yeah. Have you done the generations yet where you've had, you've helped mom and dad, and then all of a sudden,
yeah,
the kids are coming to you? Have you had that experience? What's that like?
A ton, and I'm actually, got one transaction going on right now where it's, kids actually first, and then now I'm helping mom and pop, who is actually selling their mom's house because, unfortunately she had passed away. And again, going back to the life cycle, you see that too. And you're helping people through some of those difficult times of when people pass away, and you have to help them navigate selling the house and so forth. But yeah, I'm in a deal right now where there's really 3 generations going on.
Wow. Just to think that you've been able to help somebody, with whether it's a generational wealth or just the generations of home ownership and what that means. And, seeing like how similar, I guess, the parents' house are to what the kids want, or how dissimilar they are. Just be able to talk to those families that way has got to be so exciting. What is it you think that over the years that you've learned that's made you pretty, an exceptional agent? What are some of those things that you do that maybe other agents don't do?
Well, of course, I've had my mistakes and, that sort of thing. But I don't know. I mean, for me, what I've, my, values and what I always operate my business and my cornerstones around is, I just run a smaller brokerage. It's, me, I'm the employing and managing broker. Then I have a couple agents that work under me as broker associates, and help them grow their business and teach them and so forth. But on the client side, and what my cornerstones are is high level service, high level communication, high level knowledge, and really having my client's best interest in mind the entire time. And I'll use examples of, like, I probably talk people out of buying homes more than they buy homes, if that makes sense. Is like, we'll walk in houses and they'll fall in love with something, and I'm, kind of buy them, and I'm like, oh no, and let me break some bad news to them. Like, this is a bad purchase, and let me explain why, those sort of things. So, yeah.
When you say the word high level, and I think it's an amazing word, and when people are getting that kind of service, and for those of you who are listening and watching, I would not have Gary on, wasn't it, that that high level of service that gets. What kind of differentiates that in your mind? Like, what when you say high level, what does that mean for the client and what they're going to get.
Yeah. It's to me, going back to the communication availability side of things. So, I tell my clients all the time, like, this is a big deal. This is your single biggest investment, most likely. And I don't care if it's 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, if it's on your mind, text me. And you know what? If I've checked out for the night, I turn my phone off, right? But up until that point, if somebody needs to, get hold of me, they can. And then, if it's like after hours, 10 p.m., that sort of thing, I'll have my phone off. So it's not like it's going to bug me, and I'll just get back with them first thing in the morning. And then, so the availability side of it and the ability to really explain what's happening, when it's happening, checking in with them through the process, and breaking down what's happening, because it's a big, there's a lot of steps in executing a great transaction. And the more that I'm informing them, the more I'm educating them, I think the more comfortable they are through the whole process. So I really pride myself on that side of it.
Yeah, I can tell that and see that in just the way that you do business, and it does make a difference. There are agents out here that are just transactional. Like, you show up, I've seen the ones who take people to, like the new builds, and they show up and then they sign in, so they can be the agent of record. And then, the person never hears from them hardly again. And so, I really want to emphasize how important it is that communication is there, that availability. I think the expectations are that, that you're going to help out, and you told them that. But I love the fact that you say also, hey, I am going to turn my phone off at some point, but I will get back to you in the morning. And I think people respect that, as I'm just not expecting to call you at 2 a.m. and then you answer, and all the things that go on. But there are lots of fears. Like you said, this is the largest transaction that some people make, and if they don't do it all the time, and it's not part of their DNA of like it is ours, those things type to happen. I specialize in reverse mortgages, and I deal with seniors all the time. And so, I'm always combating, and maybe this might be something you're working with as well, as the way it used to be done compared to the way it is done now, because there are so many, whether it was lawsuits or the crash of the mortgages and housing and the boom, that kind of stuff that happened. There's so much more paperwork, and we're asking them for so much more stuff. How are you finding the way to navigate when you have somebody who maybe like bought a house in the 70s and they just a handshake or something, and it seemed like it was like 3 pieces of paper and the bank gave them the money and it was over? How do you work with that?
I mean, that's a great question, because and it's not only like the changes of like paperwork and that sort of thing, but even technology, right? And signing things electronically and so forth. And some people are completely uncomfortable with that. So it's, really understanding what their threshold is on it. And sometimes, and it's okay, we just have to go back to old school. I'll deliver the contracts by hand, go through them in person. It's a very face-to-face, type of deal. And then some people, whether, using that as an example, they're ready to adopt, and they're ready they're like, just explain it to me, and we do it. And, and it works out just fine. But I just think, we just always have to remember our clients are always different. We have different ages, different experience. They've had different experience and things like that. And it's our job as agents to adopt to them, not them to adopt to us. And that's the bottom line,
Oh man, I learned that so well. I had a mortgage company back in 2000, but then as I've been doing reverses, I just a gentleman, he had internet, he was in Durango, I'm out of here, and we're trying to do paperwork, and I say, okay, we can do the electronic signature, and he's like, okay, I'll try it. And then it wasn't working, and he did the I took over his computer because I'm able to do that, right? You just sign into here and click here, and it wasn't working right. And all of a sudden I hear this big crash, and I hear this window that just, the window just broke and it's out. I'm like, what happened? He goes, this, with a whole bunch of explicit, he threw his monitor, and it was one of those big ones, right through the window. I realize there now just what you said. It is for me to adapt to you, not you to adapt to me. And I actually pushed that a little too far, and it ended up being okay. We use FedEx and that kind of stuff, but at the same time, our abilities to be able to find that, and I think that comes with experience, that comes with the longevity of what we're doing, and then being part of that stuff. Let's talk about the market a little bit. What's happening right now. I mean, there's so many. I did a purchase agreement that came through the other day, and it had where real estate agents are now talking about how much commission a buying agent or a selling agent gets, and lawsuits that are around, and what's going on in your mind as far as inventory, that kind of stuff. What can people expect over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. Okay. And what you're just saying about the commission piece, there's a lot of noise out there right now, and I'll just tell you my feeling is it's noise, and I just stay focused on my clients. I stay focused on the market. I'm not worrying about all that stuff, and I'm just focusing on high level service and being a great partner through it, and all the rest of it just doesn't matter. Like, if we're providing high level service, that everything else doesn't matter. So don't worry about it. So and to address the second your second piece in the market, man, it's I'll just say the Colorado market, I think, is extremely pent up. That would be the word I would use. And there's so many sellers that need to make a move, but they have lower interest rates, and to sell and lose that rate and buy, they're holding. So that's they're like, the inventory is still really tight, and then you got buyers who want to buy, but the rates are a little bit high, and it's just about ready to explode in my mind. And I think we're coming, I always have people tell me, Gary, I want to time the market. I want to time the market. I want to time the market. And I am literally sending, notes to my clients right now. Like, if you want to time the market, now is the time, because it's about to happen. Rates are, I feel like, and nobody has a crystal ball, but it's election year. I think a lot of people have the same sentiment that interest rates are going to come down. Spring always increases in Colorado, and that's our peak period, is anywhere from February all the way to the end of July. Those things are two headwaters come together, and I think this thing is about to explode. So if you're thinking about buying right now, you time the market. It's here. I'm telling you.
The timing is now, right?
That's how I feel.
Yep. There's the folks that were the clearance sale when we had rates at 2% and 3%. I think the clearance sale is over for a long time.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see it in our lifetimes, maybe we won't. So do you think there are people that are just holding back, from wanting to buy because they have these other rates that are so low? What would you suggest for those people who may be in that mindset of, I'm going to wait till they get to 2 or 3%, but and they're holding on to that, like you said, that pent up energy of wanting to do it? Is that going to go by, or are they just going to accept where we're at?
Well, it's an education process, and what I mean by that is most homeowners in that position do not realize how easy it is to hold that property, turn it into a rental, and buy another one. And, and using the equity in that property they have to follow the same model that most investors know. Like, they're not using their money out of their pocket to buy their second, third, or fourth. They're leveraging their first house, taking some equity out, like through a HELOC or something like that, and then buying that next property. And then, if you can hold that as a rental at your 3% rate, 4%, it's just, that's the nest egg that people are not taking advantage of right now. It's right there. So that's what I really talk to my clients about, is like, you don't have to sell it. Let me show you how easy it is to leverage that money to buy your next house.
Absolutely. What do you say to the Colorado market? I think a rental, like you said, that people can rent it out, and then you're out in Parker, Douglas County area where, some of the high, I don't know if they're the highest rents in the state, but they're, I think Boulder's probably way higher. What do you tell that first-time home buyer or that first-time person who is looking at, this amount of money with what they're making to move in? Are you still encouraging them to get going? Well, how are you dealing with that first time home buyer that maybe not be able to buy the, the $500,000, $600,000 house?
Well, I think that what I tell my clients is all the time I say this, and I will always say it, is you just have to get in the game. Okay. And that's the bottom line, because if, down the road, if you're going to sell or buy, it doesn't matter, because if it's a seller's market, yeah, you're going to, do well on the sell side, but you're going to take a beating on the buy side, right? But when you're sitting outside the market and you're trying to get in, that sort of thing, then, you could just sit on the sidelines forever and just watch everybody else's equity grow. You've got to jump in the game. And then, yeah, rates are a little bit higher. Most likely they'll make a little bit more money, and then most likely rates are going to come back down. Right now is an excellent time to buy, because I can, and this, Brian, is there's some incredible like 2-1 buy downs, 3-1 buy downs, where they can get a really low rate now for a couple years and then wait for the interest rates to come and then capitalize while you can get a good deal out there. So it's just knowing how to navigate it and being smart and having a good realtor that can educate you how to do that.
Yeah, because you would probably agree there are properties that people can move into, right? They think that there's nothing available, and the inventory might not be at its grandest or its highest, but there are places that people can move to and get going in this game. Because if you're renting, right, in 2 years, you've lost all this opportunity.
Yep, 100%. Yep,
correct.
100%. Yep. Yeah, you're not. Again, going back to timing the market with things. You're not going to time the market if you got that mindset of I'm going to wait for things to come down, because it's too late. There's always going to be an element of I'm going to have to jump off the cliff a little bit, take that step. But man, if you just have the mindset of like the next 5 years, I'm so confident that it's going to be the right decision. In the history of real estate and the history of investing, just look at 5-year windows in properties. That's the safest bet you could do. So there's really not that much risk.
Yeah, and then you start thinking about the folks that, okay, I want to live in this neighborhood. Okay, but can you wait 2 years? Can you wait 3 years? How many times in your career have you been able to get somebody into a place, maybe not the ultimate, this is my dream forever house, but then 2 or 3 years later, because of how Colorado works, hey, now we're moving into closer to what you want. Has that happened a lot of times as you've been doing this?
Absolutely. With my clients, I always try to take care of them. And what I mean by that is if they are, in a short window, they're trying to sell, buy, move things quickly, that sort of thing. I'll just tell you, I'm just not a super greedy guy when it comes to that sort of things. And I tried to do my best for them, that sort of thing, and make it a win-win. But it happens quite a bit where when, to get them to their goal, there's kind of steps in the process. But gosh, man, I tell you, at the same time with that, I can't tell you how many times that was the plan going in. Then they buy their home, and then 3 years later, they're like, "We love it," and they're not moving, that sort of thing. So, again, it's just kind of, you think we know what you want, and this happens when I'm showing houses all the time. And what I mean by that is. Sometimes they won't want to look at a property, but I know that it's hitting all their tickers, and the pictures are terrible. And sometimes I'll be like, let's just look at this property, or it's least on their list, and they kind of like, well, this is the last one I want to see, Gary. And I can't tell you how many times they walk into that house, and that is the house that surprises them, and that's the one they buy. It happens all the time.
Oh yeah, well, and then I think we overestimate the house from the whole entire neighborhood and the whole entire feeling, because there's so many times, like you said, in that 3 years, now their kids have friends that are in the neighborhood. Now they're playing bridge or whatever it is with the neighbors. They're having block parties. They're doing all the things that come with home ownership in neighborhoods when everybody's kind of on the same page. And yeah, it's not the house that you love, it's the experience of living that you get. And that's kind of what we're all selling when we're doing that, is this is the experience you can get. Are there maybe you can just give me one story of where something like that happened? And as we're coming down on time, where somebody just got so excited about afterwards and maybe not as excited in the beginning.
Yeah. I have a pretty good example of that where clients, they purchased the first time home in Aurora. Market was on fire, got in a bidding war, that sort of thing. And there's, all the conversations, well, we could do this, we could do that, and that sort of thing. And then we're going to turn around and move. Well, and you just nailed it. They fell in love with the neighbors. Their kids, started excelling in schools. And in this particular family, they actually had a pretty tragic car accident that, they all lived and that sort of thing. And they had to have a sister that came from California to help them out with their kids and them and that sort of thing. And the sister had actually brought her daughter and to live with them as well. And she was like 10 years old. And in California, she was just really struggling in school. Well, she got into the same school as her cousins, and her entire life turned around. So this was just literally 6 months ago. They called me, and she wanted to move here because her daughter was doing so well. And that was the connection. And we found them a house about a block over, and they moved, and it's just kind of a fairy tale type story. It was really cool.
Oh man, that is so neat. Well, thank you for that. This has been very enlightening, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on today. Can you please tell everybody again how to get a hold of you, and then maybe any closing thoughts that you might have?
Yeah, Gary Parkhurst, 303-810-9077. I run the brokerage for Parkhurst Realty, and you can also email me, Gary@parkhurstrealty.com, and my website's Home Search Shop. That's tied directly to the MLS, real-time updates. So if you want to look at properties, it's an awesome website. Take a look at it. So yeah, my closing thoughts are, I'm passionate about the business. I love the business. I love people. And I do every aspect of it. I work with a ton of first-time home buyers, and I love working with first-time home buyers to high end. Google me. Every review that you see on the websites are 100% legitimate. My clients. You could talk to any one of them if you want to give a feel for how I operate.
I love that. I love that. So thank you again, for coming on, spending the time. I say this at every single podcast that we do, is one that you can do this. So if you're thinking, hey, I need to wait, or I'm not capable, or there's no inventory, or all the things that we overthink in our mind, if you're thinking that, I can tell you can do this. You deserve this. We live in an amazing country that allows us to be able to take a thing like our home and to be able to create wealth with it. And maybe it's a first home or second home or third home. You deserve this. And the last thing is, let us help you. A person like Gary is available. He is there. He understands the market. He knows what neighborhoods. When he sees you, meets you, spends time with you, he can probably pick right away where it's going to be fantastic for you. And so take advantage of that. Make sure you give him a call. You talk to him. You say, hey, I haven't done this. Maybe you're coming from out of state, like the story you talked about, the person from California, that came in, and they don't know everything that's going on here, or the best amenities. And some of the best amenities are unspoken. And so let us help you do this. And again, thank you for another great episode of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. Again, I'm Brian Arnold, your host, and I just appreciate all of you that are getting on and you're watching this, and you're taking advantage of the people that we have available. So have a great, wonderful day. We will talk with you soon. This is Brian Arnold, and if you are listening to this part, you've just watched one of our episodes of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight, where we've just talked to one of the best of the best. And I want to thank whichever guest that was here. They are phenomenal. They are amazing. They are the top of the top, the best of the best that are in our industry that are here with us today. And so I encourage you to please call them, pick their brains. They work for you. They enjoy working for you. They are incredibly good at it. And so I want to make sure that you give them a call. So whoever you listen to, whichever one you saw that you were there, please do that. The other thing is, everyone deserves a home. Everyone deserves a home. I say that at the end of my show. You deserve it. Let us help you do it. My goal is to make sure that we see homeownership. It just sickens me to see apartment complexes continue to go up, because I know those are people who haven't been able to make the call or figure out a plan. So let us help put that plan together for you. I have some websites that allow you to do that, and I'll put those in the bottom, but please do. I am a lender. I do work in the lending space. If you do not already have somebody who's pre-qualified you, I would love to be able to have that opportunity to earn your business and qualify you. My number is 720-682-2223. That's 720-682-2223. Give me a call anytime, and I would love to be able to help you with that. We also do living trust. And so when we think about an estate, to try to avoid probate and make sure that doesn't happen. So whether it's you, if you own a home, and you should have a living trust. And I will say that everyone not just deserves it, everyone needs a living trust if they own a home. And then finally, just wanted to thank you for watching these episodes. And so please tune into more. Would love for you to see and be able to shop around. So thank you for doing that. Again, I want to make sure that you know that you can do this. You deserve this. And let us help you make it happen. You guys have an awesome, wonderful, awestruck, incredible day today.